Ladies and gentlemen, how do?
So it's a little bit like if we were going to use your Oracle of Delphi analogy, the idea of like them standing, atop the mountain and sort of saying, you will replace your workforce with AI. And we're all the people down below just being like, we will replace like we've just kind of completely accepted it and we're obeying, as you say.
Hello again, all you lovely people, and welcome to the second episode in my series where I debunk the bullshit and the fear-mongering coming from both the CEOs of the big AI companies and the so-called intelligent YouTube political commentators who really should know better. Or is it perhaps that they actually do and are deliberately fear-mongering about AI to generate likes, clicks, subscriptions, and to push their agenda regarding universal basic income? Both the CEOs and these political YouTube commentators are all claiming that AI is so big and powerful that it will soon be coming over here and stealing all our jobs and our women. Let's take a look at how well it's doing so far, shall we?
In February 2024, Klarna CEO Sebastian Siemiatkowski made headlines everywhere when he announced that their AI chatbot was doing the equivalent work of 700 full-time customer service agents. He said it handled 2.3 million conversations in its first month. The company froze hiring and slashed its workforce from over 7,000 people down to around 3,000. 15 months later, Siemiatkowski told Bloomberg something very different. He admitted the AI-first push had destroyed the quality of their customer service, that the company had been too focused on cutting costs, and that investing in human support was actually the way forward. So Klarna launched a rehiring drive.
Massive data centers have been set up and continue to be set up to some extent, although several have been shelved due to investors pulling out. What is the purpose of these data centers? To collect as much data as quickly, as efficiently as possible. However, by the time these data centers are up and running, the tech that powers them is already out of date and needs to be upgraded, and that requires more money to buy and install the latest CPUs, high-speed memory and storage, and this in turn creates a shortage of those parts because the manufacturing base cannot keep up with the demand. Data centers store massive amounts of data, but just how much of that data is actually worth having or is going to be useful? The CEOs of the AI companies will not tell you, because even they don't really know the answers. They will claim that AI needs every bit of data it can have to make it even more powerful. This is all part of the AI scam to generate more investment to try to prevent the AI bubble from bursting. This is explained in simpler terms in the next clip.
So one of the analogies you give in your book that I absolutely loved was the turkey's prediction around the future, if you'd be happy to share that.
Absolutely. So the whole idea of AI as machine learning is based on this Bayesian idea. And Bayesian statistics is roughly the following idea. You have some data and you have a hypothesis, and then you collect more data and you adjust according to more data you have, which makes a lot of sense. Except sometimes the more data you collect, the more misleading that data becomes. And so one example is the turkey. So imagine a turkey who's being cared for, and every day that passes, the turkey feels safer and safer because reliably the caretaker gives it food and keeps it warm and so on and so forth. But what the turkey, of course, doesn't know, because it's lonely and it cannot collect that data, is that every day that passes, they're closer to Thanksgiving, to death. And the irony is that the turkey will feel safest the night before it's killed because it's collected all this data of it being cared for reliably. And in a world in which we have climate change, in which AI is bringing some novelty to the system that we've never seen before, that's the situation we're in. Yes, you can collect all the data you want, but the data that you need is just not there because it hasn't happened yet.
The media, and sad to say, some of these YouTube political commentators have, for too long failed to hold these AI CEOs to account, and to a large degree have been enabling them by fearmongering and pushing the unsubstantiated claims by these CEOs that AI can do far more than it is actually capable of, and they predict, and the word predict does a huge amount of heavy lifting in the claim that AI will, within 5 years, take over 20% of the white-collar jobs. However, this is just a prediction. It is not a statement of fact, and the AI CEOs have yet to produce any evidence or data that backs up their predictions. Certain people, like Maximilian Robespierre, would do well to remember this. Max, why is it that you choose to believe every word that comes out of the mouths of these lying, scummy AI CEOs? Are you not capable of critical thinking when it comes to AI, or is it that you are using it to push your agenda for UBI, even using the Pope in one of your recent videos? And what the Pope knows about AI, you could fit on a postage stamp and still have plenty of space left. Let's hear some more of the other side of the AI story, shall we? Max, the stuff that you are choosing to ignore.
You mentioned the Hater's Guide to OpenAI. You gave me a bit of an early look of that, and it will be coming out today. You accused the media of sort of failing to hold OpenAI to account, and even sort of enabling the company to do what it has been doing, especially around some of its creative accounting. Do you think that this expose, the media is starting to wake up to kind of what you've been saying for a little while now?
I think on a social level they are. I think they're seeing Clemmy Sam Altman for what he is, which is a liar, a deceiver, a power-hungry parasite of sorts. And these are just my words, not Ronan Farrow or Andrew Morant's. But I don't think they're waking up to the economics or the technology yet. Even within Farrow and Morant's piece, they still talk about AI and generative AI in this mystic way. It's this thing that we can't control, and it's powerful. And should we be trusting Sam Altman with the powerful AI, which is a good thing in theory, but it's like, can we trust Sam Altman with large language models? Can we trust anyone with large language models? Can we it's still a large language model. It's not, it's dangerous in the sense it can spread misinformation, in that it steals from people, that it's got this massive environmental issues, not just in the water, but in the heat it causes, and in the resource scares that are happening, the supply chain crises that are happening because of building data centers, even though they're not getting that bill. But the actual technology itself, it's like, dangerous? The whole AI scare tactic thing is a marketing term. And indeed, the media is, on some levels, a co-conspirator within the larger OpenAI con, because they claim that AI can do things it can't. People talk about AI agents like they actually exist when they do not. They talk about coding agents, large language models that bonk each other's heads and can put out usable code sometimes if you know what the code looks like. They talk about that in these grandiose terms. And to paraphrase Cal Newport, Georgetown professor, and actually does a great podcast on this, they're kind of saying things based on what they think is directionally true. And we've gone over this a lot. Every time an outlet is like, CoreWeave has signed a deal with blah, blah, with Anthropic today. Oh, they signed a deal with Anthropic, and now they'll do all this compute. It's like, when? How? CoreWeave doesn't have the compute capacity. Anthropic doesn't have the cash to pay them. What will they do with that? Well, when they get all this compute will be even more powerful. To what end? Oh, is AI replacing jobs? Not really, but because it sounds scary, we'll just run a headline suggesting it might. The Financial Times had a piece about how AI is not replacing people or even really enhancing people in accountancy and other white-collar jobs. But even the beginning of the article humored the concept as like, well, AI threatens to replace all white-collar labor. Every one of these scare tactics, I think for the most part, is people trying to act in good faith and give a balanced view. But every time you repeat even the theoretical, you are helping these companies become more powerful. And that's how the OpenAI con works. It's Sam Altman convincing enough people to repeat enough things so that he can raise enough money, so that he can get more people to repeat more things so he can raise more money. The actual outputs and outcomes and products don't really matter. I also don't think they're making as much money as they say. $2 billion a month. I don't see it. I'm very confused where that money could come from. But my theory with both Anthropic and OpenAI is that money is coming from the fact that Claude Opus 4.6 and Sonnet 4.6 and the latest Codex models from OpenAI burn more tokens. I think they just made them burn more tokens. I think the only way to get any further is just massively increasing the amount that people are being charged. And of course, both Anthropic and OpenAI have made their enterprise customers now have to pay directly for tokens. They can no longer pay for that monthly subscription cost. The rent just went up for everyone very quietly. And so, long story short, the entire AI bubble is about obfuscating what it actually does and what it actually costs and what's actually possible. And the co-conspirator within that is kind of the media at this point. Not everyone, but some very specific people.
That is the end of this episode of AI, UBI, and the fear-mongering. There will be more episodes in the very near future. Folks, if you enjoyed this video, then not only are you lovely people, but you also have great taste, and you should also subscribe to the Two Davies for news and politics from a very Scottish perspective, and that rantastic Mr. McGuinness. Cue growling cat.